Alright, so you're thinking about joining the military, and let me tell you, for some of you this is going to be the most intensive thing you've ever done in your life. You're going to go from being a regular civilian to a soldier, or airman, or marine, or sailor, even a guardian if you're joining the Space Force. I think that's what it's called, the guardian, right? Anyway, no matter what branch you choose, you're going to face a series of challenges, and you're going to come out the other side a completely different person, both physically and mentally. And if you're sitting there nervous, wondering if you're making the right choice, that's completely normal. I was right there too. Now let me take you back a little bit. I joined the army back in 2015, and things were a little different then. At the time, I remember, they were even recruiting people with certain skills on student visas, like if you spoke Swahili or Arabic. Lucky for me, I had a green card when I enlisted. But you never know, the rules keep changing, so check with the recruiter. Things like that matter because they can open up opportunities that you might not be aware of. Before we get into the deep stuff, let's talk about the ASVAB, and that's the exam you're going to do prior to joining the military, any branch of service. You've got to study for that test like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your score on the ASVAB determines what kind of job you can get in the military. And trust me, that job is going to shape your experience. Some folks end up with chill jobs like being a dental assistant or an accountant, just working normal hours. Others, like cooks, working same hours but still get paid the same. I ended up training as a 92 whiskey, a water specialist. But here's the kicker. I spent a lot of time as a gate guard, carrying my pistol and scanning IDs at the gates. You know, the military installation gates. The military will put you where they need you to be, so don't be surprised if you're not doing exactly what you signed up for. And once you've aced or survived the ASVAB, you'll go on to MEPS. That's the Military Entrance Processing Station. Now, MEPS is a little of a hurry up and wait. You know, you'll be parked, prodded, tested, and asked a million questions. Some of the doctors there, a little weird to say the least. But once you pass that and take on the oath of enlistment, it's game on. You go into basic training or boot camp, depending on your branch. And let me tell you, basic training sucks. But it's supposed to suck anyway, and it sucks for a reason. When I first got to Fort Benning, now it's called Fort Moore, I saw that drill sergeant in the hat, and my heart dropped. It felt surreal. Like, what did I sign up for? You'll be there feeling nervous, and everyone around you will look just as lost as you are. They'll shave off your head if you're a guy, take away your civilian clothes, turn your world upside down. You'll be running on little sleep, yelled at for things you didn't even know you could do wrong, and wondering why you ever thought this was a good idea. But hang on in there, basic training doesn't last forever. One thing you'll notice in basic is that you're surrounded by people of all ages and backgrounds. A lot of them will be fresh out of high school, and some of them are going to act like they are still in high school. Immature. Oh yeah. And the worst part is, if one of them screws up, the whole platoon suffers. You get in trouble for things you didn't even do. It gets old fast. But that's part of the experience. You learn to adapt, to endure, and to push through. Now, for those of you coming in with a degree like I did, here's a reality check. Your education doesn't mean much at first. I had a bachelor's degree when I enlisted, but because I wasn't a US citizen, I came in as an E4 specialist, not an officer. You might get a little respect for your degree, but rank is what matters in the military. You'll be saluting someone who is way younger than you, but hey, that's the military. You follow orders, no matter who is giving them. And let me tell you something about the weather. If you're from a warm place, do yourself a favor. Don't join in the winter. Because I came from Africa, and I lived in California. Less than a year, I joined the military and went to Georgia in Virginia in the winter season. And man, winter was brutal. I remember being up at 3 a.m. in the freezing cold, feeling like my fingers were falling off my hands, and I couldn't feel my legs on many occasions. I came close to quitting a few times because of the weather alone. So if you're not built for the cold, be prepared for a shock. Once you've survived basic training, you'll move on to AIT, Advanced Individual Training. Now, AIT is a different word compared to basic. You get more privileges, like your phone back for long periods, and life feels a little more normal here. But here's the deal, you've got to follow the rules, or you will get stuck in there longer than you want to be. And here's something I wish I knew a little bit earlier. That's letters. Yes, in AIT you can receive and send letters. And trust me, having someone write to you makes a world of difference. I didn't have anyone writing to me or sending me care packages, and it hurt me more than I expected. So if you got some people back home, parents, or spouse, or children, make sure they send you letters. You will need that for the mental boost, especially when you're feeling down. Now let's talk about your first duty station. You're going to show up all motivated, thinking you're going to start doing the job you're trained for. But the military isn't always what you expect. You might spend hours in a motor pool or random duties that don't match your MOS. For example, I ended up on gate guard, and in most cases, I was prepping trucks and I was doing nothing related to a 92 whiskey or water specialist. And when the unit deploys, there's nothing much to do, so you are assigned whatever duty you are assigned to do. So don't go in the military with the expectations that you're 100% always gonna do what you signed up for. No, you will be disappointed. If you're single, you'll be living in the barracks. And barracks life, well, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes you'll have a roommate, sometimes not. If you're married though, you'll get the best allowance for housing. You can live off base if you're married, but in the barracks, you've got to deal with close quarters. And you'll quickly learn that privacy is a luxury. And trust me, keep your hands to yourself. The military is integrated now with men and women, and any inappropriate behavior can get you kicked out faster than you can imagine. Now, deployments. If you're lucky enough to get deployed, you'll make more money, but it comes with a cost. You'll miss out on time with family and friends. That was the hardest part for me, missing out on life back home. But deployments also give you a chance to bond with your unit in ways you don't when you are stateside. Those people become like family, and those friendships can last a lifetime. And speaking of officers, if you're not one, you're going to be doing a lot of saluting and saying, "Yes sir, yes ma'am." Officers are usually required to have a degree, and if you want to be one, you need to be a US citizen. Otherwise, you start at a lower rank, even with a degree like I did. But hey, no matter your rank, the rules are the rules. Follow them and you'll do just fine. Let's not forget about the culture in the military. It's a lot like high school, but with more structure. You'll have bad leadership and great leadership. You'll meet some people who are just coasting through, unmotivated and tired of the grid. Don't let them drag you down. Find someone who has been in longer, learn from them and play the system. And here's a heads up, you're going to start cursing a lot. You won't even notice it at first, but then you'll be off duty talking to civilians, and you will realize you're speaking a whole different language with military slang and cursing words. Speaking of downtime, don't just stay in your barracks room all weekend. Get out, explore the area, meet new people, but also be smart about your free time. The military culture is good on alcohol, and it's easy to get caught up in that lifestyle. Drinking is common on the weekends, but don't let it get out of hand. You don't want to be that guy who shows up at work drunk or gets trouble off duty. If drinking is not your thing, find other ways to unwind. And finally, if you're trying to figure out which branch of service to join, this is my honest opinion, and I don't want anybody to mark me on this one. If I had to do it again, I would choose the Air Force to be number one, because they're laid back, and probably I feel like they're the easiest. And the opportunities in space and flying planes, that is catching. Number two is the Army, because I think the Army has a lot of opportunities when it comes to career opportunities and school. And it's the biggest branch in the military, in the US military, so they got a lot of opportunities to further your career. If you're a friend of the ship in the sea, I think the Navy will take number 3 for me. Then the Marines will follow, because I feel like the Marines is a smaller branch. And obviously the Coastal Guard. And as for active duty or reserve, that depends on you. But personally, I would say, if you're straight from high school, why don't you go to active duty? I can understand a person who has a career that's already built and they still want to keep their job. But But if you're from high school, do your 3 years, see how you feel, and then you can go to reserve or National Guard. You know, Reserve Guard is for the federal and National Guard is for the state. But these are all part-times. So if you're starting, again, like I mentioned, if you're starting from high school, go active duty. You know, if you want to be an officer, you have a bachelor's degree, go active duty. See how it feels and then come to reserve. But the choice is yours at the end of the day. So no matter what, the military is going to change you. You will grow in ways you didn't expect you will. You make friends who will become family and come out on the other side a different person. It's a wild ride. But if you stick with it, you look back with some incredible stories and life-changing experiences. Thank you for listening to me. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and support me on this channel. One love.